From West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Support for the Legislature Today has been provided by the following.
The West Virginia High Technology Consortium Foundation, diversifying West Virginia's economy through technological innovation and development at the Fairmont I-79 Technology Park, now with locations in downtown Wheeling, Moundsville, and Glenville.
Connecting West Virginia families and businesses through high-speed internet services. Learn more about connecting at frontier.com.
At the Legislature today, the first of Governor Tomblin's bills gets a hearing in the House Judiciary Committee. Senate freshmen wrap up their first full week of the session. We'll talk financial education with State Treasurer Jon Perdue and a special report tonight on services for our state's veterans on the Legislature today. And good evening, I'm Beth Voorhees. On the House floor today, House Bill 2471 was on its third reading. Delegate Tim Miley, chair of the Judiciary Committee, explained the bill, which concerns firearms and a declared state of emergency.
This is an NRA-supported bill, but what it does is clarifies and expands upon the current statutory limitations that are placed on state or local authorities to restrict or limit the otherwise lawful carrying, transfer, storage, or display of firearms and ammunition during a declared state of emergency. The bill also establishes a legal cause of action for violations of the statutory prohibitions and allows for the recovery of reasonable attorney fees and costs by successful plaintiffs who have had their firearms and ammunition improperly seized. I urge passage of the bill.
And unlike the partisan bickering that went on earlier this week, this bill had bipartisan support. Speaker Rick Thompson and other Democrats sponsored the bill, but many Republicans voiced their support of it.
One of our founding fathers said that they that can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I'll be proud to vote with you on this bill to uphold the rights of the people to keep and bear arms. This right to protect the Second Amendment, which is a natural right, guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of West Virginia, should always be upheld, especially in time of emergency. We need this protection. Law-abiding citizens will thank you, and I thank you. I urge you to vote for this bill.
This bill is a reasonable bill. The people of West Virginia want us to protect their Second Amendment rights. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge your support on this bill.
The bill passed unanimously, 97-0. The House Judiciary Committee approved two bills and referred them to the Committee on Finance today. One was the governor's bill regarding pipeline safety. Dave Mistich reports.
House Bill 2505 would increase maximum penalties for pipeline safety violations to make them consistent with federal law. Joe Oltizer, counsel for the House Judiciary Committee, explains those penalty increases.
The current penalty maximums per day for a violation are $1,000 for each violation for each day of the violation. This is in the Green Bill on page 2. And the aggregate amount may not exceed $200,000. This is increased from $200,000 for each violation for each day up to $2 million in the aggregate.
A Columbia gas transmission line exploded in Sissonville last December, causing damage to Interstate 77 and also destroyed several homes. However, Bob Orendorf, a lobbyist for Dominion, assured lawmakers that these accidents are rare.
It's incumbent upon us to operate a safe pipeline. And the pipeline industry in West Virginia throughout this nation is the safest regulated entity through the Department of Transportation. So if you look at all the entities that the Department of Transportation regulates throughout North America, the pipeline industry has the best safety record. Our incidents are dramatic, but not very often, which is a good thing.
Delegate John Schott of Mercer County motioned to have the bill amended. He said it was to protect consumers.
The amendment was simply intended to be certain that the Public Service Commission did not allow a utility, a natural gas transmission utility or a natural gas provider, to pass along a penalty that it paid by virtue of a rate case. In other words, if they paid a penalty for neglect in the maintenance of their pipeline, we didn't want the consumers of their utility service to have to pay that penalty. And the amendment simply prohibited the utility from submitting that to the commission or being considered by the commission in seeking a rate increase.
Also discussed in the Judiciary Committee meeting was House Bill 2498, which would make it a crime for a grand juror to disclose the identity of an individual who will be indicted. Counsel for the Judiciary, Brian Skinner, explains how current code on the matter would be affected by the bill.
Right now, our current code, criminal code, does not include a criminal provision that would prohibit this or make it criminally liable. However, Rule 6 of the West Virginia Rules of Criminal Procedure makes the disclosure of matters occurring before the grand jury, except as otherwise provided by the rule, by a grand juror, an interpreter, stenographer, operator of a recording device, typist who transcribes recorded testimony, an attorney for the state, or any person to whom disclosure is made under the rule, punishable as contempt of court.
That bill comes on the heels of a grand juror in Mingo County currently being held in contempt of court, accused of warning another woman who was being indicted on drug charges. Delegate Justin Markham of Mingo County is the lead sponsor of the bill. Both House Bill 2505 and 2498 were recommended for passage, but were referred to the Finance Committee for second reference. If those bills make it out of the Finance Committee, they will be reported to the House floor. For the Legislature Today, I'm Dave Mistich in the House of Delegates.
The first full week in the Senate saw the introduction of more than 350 bills and the passage of 2 that will now be taken up in the House. Of the 34 members that make up the Senate, 8 are freshmen, taking on the challenges of not only the issues, but also the procedures of the state's upper house. Ashton Mara spoke with a few of those new members and has this report.
The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate adjourned.
As day 9 of the 81st legislature came to a close today, 8 freshman senators completed their first full week as a part of the state's upper house. For some of those new faces on the Senate floor, the inner workings of state government are nothing new. Senator Sam Can of Harrison County spent 18 years in the House of Delegates, but says he's already noticed a difference in the Senate.
I feel like I have more of a voice here because you are only one of 34 and it only takes 18 votes to get something done. In the House, you have to have at least 51 to get anything done, and then you have to get it done over here as well.
Senator Craig Blair agreed with Can that the biggest difference between the two houses is the influence he can have with fewer members surrounding him. Blair spent 8 years in the House and says he's noticing other differences too. He says he's seen fewer issues of party alliance in the Senate than he did as a delegate.
I'm a big believer in merit of the issue. It shouldn't be about party when you get into the legislature. It should be about merit of the issue and pushing it forward. Very much so in the Senate, I believe. So far, I'm witnessing merit of the issue, where it's more important about not the party, but about the bills and the legislation that you've got in front of you.
But there are also some new faces on the floor who are relying on previous experience in the private sector rather than government. Senator Rocky Fitzsimmons of Ohio County was appointed by Governor Tomblin to fill the position left vacant by Senator Orphy Klempa. Fitzsimmons says he's not new to the issues. He hosts a weekly talk radio show focused on state and local politics, but says this is his first experience in the State House.
The question a lot of times is what is the most challenging thing about adapting to life in the legislature? It's not necessarily learning the issues, but one of the challenges is learning the procedure and finding out where all the resources are that are available to you. So that's the steeper part of the learning curve.
Senator Chris Walters of Putnam County has the distinction of being a part of the first father-son pair serving simultaneously in the State House in the history of West Virginia. His father is long-serving delegate Ron Walters of Kanawha County. Walters says his focus will be on education.
One of the advantages I have of being a younger senator is that I really remember the education system I came up through. And I feel that and with what I've seen, I can work together with the Education Committee, even so not being on the committee, but work together with my fellow senators who are, to really do some changes, some great changes in education in West Virginia to move our state forward.
Can says he wants to work closely on prison overcrowding, Blair on bringing jobs to the state. Fitzsimmons is supporting severance tax credits for the communities in which natural gas drilling is taking place. In all, many of the 8 new faces on the Senate floor say they've been invigorated by their first full week at the Capitol and are looking forward to the challenges of the next 51 days. For the Legislature Today, I'm Ashton Mara in the Senate.
Up next, a talk with State Treasurer Jon Perdue. First, here's a look at some of the bills introduced in the Senate today. Among the bills introduced in the Senate today, Senate Bill 345 to establish a minimum number of 800 troopers to provide basic law enforcement services. The bill further provides that members of the West Virginia State Police shall receive a $580 salary increase at the beginning of service. Senate Bill 352 to make it mandatory for mental health professionals to tell a potential victim and law enforcement officials if a patient or client presents a clear and substantial risk of harm to another person. Senate Bill 353 to establish the first Informer Broadcasters Act. The bill permits broadcasters to develop emergency response plans and requires, to the extent practical, government agencies to allow first emergency broadcasters access to emergency areas to repair equipment critical to its emergency broadcasting responsibilities. Senate Bill 354 to direct the Commissioner of Highways to conduct a study on alternative revenue mechanisms for development and maintenance of state roads and highways. Senate Bill 355 at the request of the Governor to require final payment of wages of discharged employees no later than the next regular payday. Payment may be made through regular means or by mail. Senate Bill 356 to increase the State Police Forensic Lab Tech salary $10,000 per year and to increase the salary of civilian employees by $4,000 per year. And Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 7, making the Hall Flintlock Model 1819 designated as the official state firearm. Up for passage in the Senate on Monday, Senate Bill 71, regarding descriptions of rights-of-ways and easements, and Senate Bill 145 to correct a code reference in order to conform the language to Federal Help America Vote Act as to election complaint procedures. On second reading, the amendment stage, Senate Bill 60, to clarify that applicants are not required to have published their intention for name change until after they file their petition with the Circuit or Family Court and is assigned a judge and a hearing date. Senate Bill 76 to conform the Code of West Virginia to federal requirements for presidential office ballots for registered voters moving from the state. And Senate Bill 82 to require that a public service board have at least one rate-paying residential customer of the public service district on its board membership. Our guest tonight is the state's banker and chief investment officer. He processes the state's monies and pays all the state's bills. Jon Perdue is the state's 24th treasurer. He was first elected in 1996 and was just re-elected to his 5th term. Mr. Perdue, welcome. So glad you're here.
Well, glad to be here, Beth.
Are we paying the bills on time?
We're one of the best states in the nation, one of the 5 best states in the nation that pays their bills on time, and the people can say they have a surplus and a rainy day fund.
That's all right. That is good to know. Tell me about your website has on its front page an article about your financial education program in the state schools. This was something in 2008 that the legislature passed for you. Tell us about this instruction and what it entails.
Well, I'm very compassionate about financial education, and we did get a bill passed in 2008, making that part of the high school curriculum to graduate from high school. And it has really turned out to be a very good program. It's called Net Worth. It's a national award-winning program, and we implement financial education all the way into kindergarten, all the way through high school.
Really?
And we implement it into lesson plans that the teachers are already teaching in the school system, and we work with them through the summer months to implement those plans into lessons that lesson plans they're teaching, so they can teach financial education. In high school, now that goes a lot longer because we have teachers that have been teaching that. I just returned from Capitol High School, and where we were doing the stock game, so to speak, and where they had bought stock and it's tracking the stock and going up and down and learning about what the stock market was all about. And so that was a very good lesson plan that has been put in place in Capitol High School. And,
what's the students' reactions to that?
Well, it's very, very great because it's a hands-on approach. A lot of the things that we do, you know, in the middle school we do the Get a Life program where we have the Green Reaper, and we work with Leadership West Virginia and the chambers and so forth, and bring in our business leaders that set up the real estate company, the cars and the dealer and so forth like that. And kids get to go buy a home, buy a car, buy groceries, set up a budget, and they all go bankrupt just about in the first time around. The Green Reaper's taking them off, and then we come back after they learn more how to manage money and what they really need to do, and they go home and their parents are really excited that because they go home telling their parents about what they did. I have all kinds of parents call me all the time and say, thank you for educating my child about what much it costs to buy those tennis shoes or buy what they want. They're so excited about, and what a budget's all about, and what a car payment and a house payment and utility payments and everything's all about.
And then put credit cards in there and how you can get in trouble with, you talk about credit card debt?
Yes, we do credit card debt as well in high school. It's another program that we do out there, and where they get in credit card debt, and we try, you know, one of the first things, high school seniors come out of high school, one of the first things they do are getting in credit card debt, or freshmen in college, and they're getting in credit card debt because they are you know, buy that, get that credit card, and then they think, oh, I got money to spend. And they get in credit card debt and have their first foot in the grave of bankruptcy. So we've changed a lot of that. The survey showed that. It's really changing. It's really working. So I'm really excited about
it. You should be, and this is statewide, all counties, all schools.
Well, we're not in all counties yet. We're trying to get in all counties, but you know, it takes a while to get there, and it takes a lot of money.
State Treasurer Jon Perdue, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
And a special report about our state's veterans in a moment. First, here's a look at some of the bills introduced in the House today. Among the bills introduced in the House today, House Bill 2599 to prohibit recipients of public assistance under the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program from the purchase of sugary soft drinks or carbonated beverages. House Bill 2600 to authorize county commissions to create resort area districts. The bill states that West Virginia's resorts and other recreational areas have an important role in the economy of the local areas surrounding their locations and are often located in unincorporated areas, and as a consequence, such areas have less funding available to provide infrastructure and essential services. House Bill 2604 to exempt honorably discharged veterans of the Armed Forces of the United States from payment of fees and costs for a license to carry deadly weapons. This exemption already applies to former law enforcement officers who are honorably retired. And House Bill 2609 to repeal the Alternative and Renewable Energy Portfolio Act. Up for passage in the House on Monday, House Bill 2173 to restrict payments for burial services of indigents to only those services provided by a funeral director licensed in the state of West Virginia. A study has been released that's providing new information about the state's veteran population. It was commissioned by the state legislature. As Beneduccio reports, it's providing some startling insight into the health of the state's veterans.
West Virginia has about 170,000 veterans, according to the state's Department of Veterans Assistance. More than 1,200 of them participated in the survey, the first of its kind in 5 years. The state legislature wanted to learn more about all of the state's veterans, including demographics, income and financial concerns, and health care access. The findings indicate 20% of the veterans who filled out the survey are at risk for suicide, while half show signs of post-traumatic stress disorder and/or depression. Joseph Scotti, a psychology professor at West Virginia University, was part of the study team.
The more depression, PTSD, and suicide risk, the more financial difficulties, the more likely to be unemployed, the more family strain that they were having, either with their partner or with their children. So these are, you know, we got to reach out to families, we got to reach out to communities, we got to find the veterans.
She just got hired. She just got hired.
So you're in the office now, too?
Hell yeah, I'm always in the office. She's working. That's why I got hired. I'm always in the office.
Yeah.
It's not
I beg to differ. The 7th
There was some.
The 7th Infantry Division, the Bayonet Division, did storm quite a few beaches.
Mark Combs is one veteran who participated. He's a student at West Virginia University, and he served during the Iraq War.
I was assigned to the 1st Infantry Division, the 4th Brigade, 1st of the 28th Infantry Regiment. It went from a nice, pretty day in Baghdad to, you know, your truck was filled with smoke, you couldn't breathe, you couldn't see. You're just trying to get out because you wasn't for sure if your truck was going to catch on fire. And you weren't for sure who was dead and who was alive in your truck. And, you know, thank God, you know, every time we were hit, it just worked out that nobody was hurt too bad.
The issue with all the veterans, and I think a main point of this report is we have to reach out to the folks who are not going to the VA, which is about half of the sample, which is similar to what we found in the earlier survey. So we got half of the veterans, and if that's representative of the full number in the state, that's a lot of people are not going to the VA or haven't gone regularly, never have gone, haven't gone regularly, or haven't gone for over 2 years.
Mark Combs survived 3 IED explosions during his tour in Iraq, where he was in some of the most intense fighting of the war during the surge in Baghdad. He says he stopped going to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs because of his frustration with their inability to understand his issues with post-traumatic stress.
You go in, they ask you the same questions. They don't remember who you are. Every time they just want to talk about the same things. How, you know, did you see your friends die? Did you kill anybody? Eventually you just get tired of talking about that. Yeah. And you'd much rather just stay at home and live with your own nightmare than go and have them open old wounds and rub salt in it.
Scotty says the VA can't do it alone.
The VA has undertaken an enormous project to train providers in their facilities on these empirically supported treatments. And that in general means that at least one person at each of the centers knows how to treat PTSD, depression, or substance abuse in one of these types of treatments. But look how many veterans we're talking about, and even though we have 4 VAs and a dozen plus vet centers and many community-based outpatient clinics here in this state, you know, we are really very rich in those VA facilities. There's just not enough providers to handle everyone to the extent that is needed. This is not a 5-session fix-you-up sort of thing.
While these issues affect the national VA, the State Department of Veterans Assistance also helps veterans. The study makes a series of recommendations to the governor, the legislature, and state agencies to help with these issues. This includes providing a multi-focus strategy to help veterans and their families by raising awareness to the public about the statistics of suicide among veterans, implementing training programs for health providers to work with families of veterans for support, providing funding to the State Department of Veterans Assistance to hire more social work case managers.
They can have like caseworkers that are, you know, completely dedicated to them, and it's not one state, you know, one caseworker that's got like 30, 40 people. It's, one to like 5.
Monongalia County Delegate Barbara Evans Fleischauer is a member of the Select Committee on Veterans Affairs.
I'm not 100% sure that we're going to have a bill that's going to solve everything this session, or even a financial package that's going to solve everything this session. But we need to refine what we might do and do it right. We want to, we want to base our decisions on data and try to do something that is constructive.
With state agencies forced to cut budgets by about 7.5%, funding for the Department of Veterans Assistance will be tight as it works on the recommendations.
Whether they can add additional social workers and a clinical, a person that can supervise the social workers, I don't know. But it seems to me that this might be time to start asking for that and saying this is a priority issue in our state.
But Fleischauer is hopeful that the legislature can help in some informal ways.
We have 3 medical schools, and we fund them, and we can work with the medical schools to make sure this is included in their regular curriculum.
Other key data reveals 10% of the veterans who participated were homeless at some point in their adult lives. Scotty says an increasing number of female veterans are homeless. The survey lists recommendations to help with those issues as well. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, I'm Beneduccio in Morgantown.
And this has been the Legislature Today. We'll be back on Monday with full coverage of the first regular session of the 81st West Virginia Legislature. Next week, we'll focus on education reform. I'm Beth Voorhees. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Support for the Legislature Today has been provided by the following.
The West Virginia High Technology Consortium Foundation, diversifying West Virginia's economy through technological innovation and development at the Fairmont I-79 Technology Park, now with locations in downtown Wheeling, Moundsville, and Glenville.
Connecting West Virginia families and businesses through high-speed internet services. Learn more about connecting at frontier.com.